Morning folks, Russell here. Wanted to kind of follow up on a previous video we did where we talked about the upgrades on Carla's Jeep here, Trashy Betty. One of the previous comments basically said that it was advertisement for the products going in, and after looking back on it, yeah, I didn't show any of the work being done or very good video of some of the wiring repair we did. So I'm going to pick the camera up now and I'm going to kind of go through it. So this will be like Trashy Betty gets upgrades part 2. So we'll get started on it and I'll kind of walk around. Okay, as I said in the previous video, we were replacing the LED lighting with halogens. So we did install the IPFs and the KC fog lights and CBA European code H4 headlamps. So basically what I'm going to do this video is show you some of the wiring repairs we had to do and how we routed the wiring. So both the headlight relay kit and the Big 7 Jeep cables kit. For starters, on the previous video you saw I showed a photograph of how badly the original headlight connectors were. So we spliced in a new connector. Of course, this one doesn't actually hook up to the headlamp, and I'll explain that when we talk about the relay kit. But spliced in a new connector on both the left and the right. Both headlight both sides of the headlight wiring harness were just completely mangled, spliced into for whatever. So I need a flashlight. And I'll say it again, as far as the headlights go. So we, like I said, we spliced in new pigtails for the headlamps and then installed a relay kit. Now this isn't the relay kit that I would normally run. Unfortunately, we can't get any of the non-Chinese made parts right now for whatever supply chain issues. So on a TJ, I'll mount the relays right on the back of the radiator support, and you can see the ceramic end pigtail that they come with. Most of these plug and play relay kits require power only from one side of the headlamp. So it's male, plugs into the female end of the right headlamp. You mount the relay kit side there, and then you route the wiring harness down the radiator and across the bottom of the support. And it goes all the way across the bottom, comes back up, and then the other side plugs right into the left headlamp. This set has the ground wires for the, and let's see, the other side's better. The ground wire for the headlamp itself, instead of going back into the wiring harness, goes direct to a good ground. I actually like that. And then the power wire, the hot wire if you will, we route it right along the channel here and directly to the battery. And that way, so now what's happening is when you turn the headlamps on, the headlamp signal, or the headlamp power, kicks over the relay, and then all the power draw for the headlamps comes directly from the battery. So you're bypassing the power distribution channel, you're bypassing the switch, which over time, especially with a lot of night usage or heavy higher wattage bulbs, will burn up the switches. So this relay set is really a pretty straightforward install. Like I said before, this is not the kit I would normally use. Jeepcables.com makes or offered a relay set for Jeeps, but they can't. They're so, according to them, they're so opposed to using Chinese parts that right now they won't make them because they can't get the connector ends to do it. So I had to buy something else. As far as the Big 7 wiring, That's the other thing somebody mentioned. It's kind of straightforward, honestly. Not a whole lot to show. One of the ground wires is going to end up going to the engine block. I don't know if y'all can see that right there. The other one's going to go right up onto the firewall. They call it the Big 7 because it also offers another ground that's supposed to go to the fender, but the 06 TJ doesn't have a spot on the fender, so we just don't use it. As far as the power wires go, this is where it gets not tricky, but interesting, just different. So you've got the cover for the power distribution box, and you open that up, and you've got two parts here, two studs. One goes direct to the battery, and the cable kit does come with the battery terminals, and they're modular terminals. So you've got one wire comes direct from the battery to the power distribution. The other wire on the power distribution comes down and goes to the fuse block. And then obviously the second wire off the fuse block comes up and goes to the alternator. On a TJ, pretty simple. There's no trimming required. Bolts right up, not a problem. The second wire coming off the battery goes direct down to the starter. Let me get the flashlight again. It goes directly to the starter. And it follows the original wiring. So if you're going to do one of these Big 7 kits, whether it's on a TJ, an XJ, there's some special instructions on certain years of XJs due to the power distribution box. But for the most part, it follows the original wiring. You remove the old wiring and then route the new wires in the same manner. As far as the fuse block goes, not in a TJ, not really a good flat spot to mount this thing. So I chose to just zip tie it to the other existing line. That'll be fine. The only other place I could think to mount it would have been on the side of the air box, but honestly that puts a hot terminal really close to this AC line. So lesser of two evils. Zip tying it to the power wire, the other power wire, and that puts no metal anywhere near the ends. Even though they have rubber caps on them, you never know what's going to happen. As far as the power block goes, one of the things you have to do when doing this so that it will close is you take a pair of side cut or dikes, side cut diagonal pliers, whatever, and trim back the plastic up here. On the original, there's a tang that sticks out and it's got some bracing in it. You just trim it back and that way the distro block will close. One of the other things I'm going to mention when doing the fog light, putting fog lights back in, all the 06s were pre-wired for the fog lights. That doesn't mean all the 06s came with the fog lights. So if you're pre-wired, if you're pre-wired for the fog lights and you want to put the fog lights in, put fog lights in. Obviously, you get the fog lights. These are made by Casey Lighting, and the beauty of them is while they are aftermarket, they are terminated with the factory wiring harness. So it's a plug and play in that sense that they plug right into the factory harness. But you'll have to get a relay, and you can see here, fog lamp relay, number 35. You'll have to get a relay to put in here, and that's only one step. The other thing you've got to do is also get a new stalk. The fog lamp stalk has the switch here for fog lamps, and you can see the fog lamp indicator come on. Not hard to do this. Couple screws on the bottom. You pull the top tray out, a few screws, and you pull the whole module out and unplug it. You have to separate the windshield wiper side from the rest of the module, and there's a relay on the old module you'll have to put on the new module. It's not a difficult job to do. There's about 2 or 3 videos on YouTube showing it, so I'm not going to go into that. The CB radio. I talked about the antenna, and so we're going to show it. So, standard lug mount with a wire, spring. We ended up taking the quick disconnect off. Her garage is more of a carport, so she only pulls in just enough till the antenna hits and leaves it like that, and that's fine. And by taking the quick disconnect out and mounting the antenna direct, I was able to shorten the overall antenna length, which then gave us better SWR readings. Her channel 1 SWR is a perfect 1.0, and channel 40 is like a 1.2, which is really, really good, considering this antenna is mounted on a tire swing. And you can see the previous owner had an antenna mounted on here. There are a lot of people, they'll route this wire up under and back through, and Jeep with a soft top, I just run it right through the zipper. That leaves plenty of slack for the tire carrier to swing around. Now obviously if the customer had wanted, yeah, we could route the wire. She deferred to my judgment, and that's the way I route it on my own vehicles, with a Jeep with a soft top. Obviously Jeeps with a hard top, we would have routed it back under here and in. As far as the interior, how we loop the wires, because that's an 18-foot cable, and the Jeep is not 18 feet long. So what we do, you never want to coil, right? With a CB lighting, with CB antenna wire, you never want to wrap it into a coil. You want to leave it loose. Wrapping it back and forth in an S pattern is fine, but if you wrap it into a coil, it creates induction upon itself, and then you get ridiculously high SWR readings, which can then damage your radio when you transmit. So in the case of her vehicle, we routed the wire, obviously, you see where the wire comes in here, and then basically I just followed the channel up to here, zip tied it, and then traced it back, zip tied it again, traced it forward, zip tied it again, and then routed it down. Followed the roll cage down. So we've got 2 bends in this, 2 S bends, which is fine, and then there's a little bit of slack left underneath the seat. The unfortunate thing about putting pretty much a full-size CB into a Jeep TJ, not really a good spot to put it. If you put it on the driver's side, you're impeding the driver's leg on the gas pedal, and of course the seat won't flip forward. If you put it on the passenger side, you end up kind of the similar problem. The seat won't flip forward. So, you know, 6 one, half a dozen the other. I've seen people put the CB up here. I've done that way back in the day, full-size Cobra radio or unit end radio, and we mounted it up here. The small unit end radios, and President makes a really small radio. I usually mount them on the other side because they don't impede. They're thin enough that they don't impede your leg onto the gas pedal. But with a more full-size sideband style radio, the best place to put it, honestly, is the right side of the gear shifter. You can see everything. You use your right hand, can easily reach down and adjust stuff if needed. Obviously, when you're not driving or not moving, and it just limits it. You cannot flip the passenger seat forward. Fortunately for her, it's an 06, so the driver's seat flips forward as well, so you can still get rear passengers in. Obviously, you can see the excess of the antenna wire. Don't ever coil it up, just leave it. It's robust, it's fine. And then routing power, obviously we trace the wires back over underneath the console. And you can see the wires coming out underneath the console. And way up in there is a body grommet. Fortunately for her, and for me, because it made life easy, somebody's put an aftermarket radio in this, and they went and got constant power direct off the battery, and they routed it through there. So it was already a hole drilled in that. I just had to, I put a little bit of Vaseline on it and slip the wires through. And you can see where the wires are coming out the grommet. Tracing them back, I always go direct to the battery for a CB. Good clean power. So that's pretty much it. Obviously, when we were doing the install of the big 7 kit, we also had to hooked up her winch back up to it. And everything else stayed the same. She has, since this job, since we've done this work, she's been on a couple of outings, trail rides. She's very pleased with the headlamps. I still want to, once I've got my CJ done, I can then bring her vehicle over here. I'll have to remeasure because it's been several years, and I don't know if you can see. I have markings on my wall for aiming Jeep headlamps. You've got to be 25 feet away. And those are based on a Cherokee. Once you get above a certain height, vehicle height, the aiming pattern at 25 feet is identical. It doesn't matter how high you go. It's below 25 feet that your angles will start to change, and you have to be specific with the angles. Above 25 feet, it doesn't matter. It's where it's hitting at the 25-foot mark on the wall. And I may put a link at the bottom of this video to a good resource for aiming headlamps, aiming fog lamps, spot lamps, and stuff like that. It's actually from a Mazda Miata site, but they talk about below and above headlamp, and it's headlight height, center of the headlight height. So once I've got my CJ done and out, we'll get hers over on that side and properly, truly, really aim them really well. And of course, I've still got to get put the wiring in for her IPF spot lamps. I was gonna do that today after digging around in the back of her Jeep. She didn't leave it in there, so that'll have to be another time. She actually brought it in for something else, and we're gonna shoot a video on that today too. So I did also want to mention Carla's Jeep here, Trashy Betty. Like I said, I've done work on it before. One of the things I did do when I first met her was run a full diagnostics on it. She had a check engine light. It was constant. I cannot, don't ask me, have no idea or remember what the code was or what it was for. It may have been O2 sensor or something like that. She decided not to do the repair work on it because honestly it wasn't affecting the performance of the engine. As most of you know, a check engine light is nothing more than an emissions thing. We're here in South Carolina, and you know, we're dirty right-wingers and don't care about emissions, which really isn't true, but it was something we pushed down the road. So we did a lot of electrical repair on the vehicle. It's amazing how these computers, it's not really amazing, I understand it, but it's amazing how these computers will kind of trick themselves if the impedances aren't correct, if voltages aren't correct. When she dropped the vehicle off the other day for me to do the work, it had a check engine light on, latched on, hard latch. I repaired headlight wiring, I installed new battery cables, and we put a CB radio in it. And of course we put some lighting in. But the repair work was the headlight harness. Check engine lights out, gone. And she's been driving the vehicle for a week. Got a check engine light. It's not always what you think. These computers are very sensitive to voltages and resistance, and I bet you dollars to, and I don't know, it could have been the headlight wiring repair, it could have been the fact that we took the LED headlights out. computer's acting fine now, doesn't care, loves it. So the additional side benefit to going back to halogen lighting in some cases on these vehicles is it could possibly, especially on vehicles that weren't designed for LEDs, fix other issues. The secondary example of it is with CB radios, AM radios, amplitude modifications, at night with LEDs, you will get tons of interference and static because of the LED. There's an RF interference that comes off the LED. So by going back to halogen, you fix that problem as well. So LED headlights are not the end all be all. And like I said before, if your vehicle didn't come equipped with them, I'd say stay away from them. That's me personally. But anecdotal evidence shows that it does affect the computers. Take it for what it's worth. As always, you like this content, hit like, hit subscribe, and as always, there's more to follow.